Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream with me, Heather Austin. I'm so excited to join you today for this special live stream. Today, we are talking all about what to know before accepting a job offer. In fact, I'm going to share with you 5 qualities of a great employer. Now, keep in mind that there's a lot happening in the job market right now, so the information I'm going to share with you is going to be pivotal in your job search. So if you can hear me and see me okay, give this video a big, huge thumbs up. Also, let me know where you're joining us from in the chat today, and we are going to jump right in. Make sure also, if you know anyone that would benefit from this topic or from the information I'm about to share today, make sure you share this video with you. I know a lot of you jumped in and said hello already. It looks like we have Canada in the house. Sherry, hello. Anne is here from Florida. Welcome, Anne. So glad that you could make it. Donna is also here from Florida. We have May Zin here. Hello. We have Adrian from Georgia, Kim from New York. So happy to have you guys here. And by the way, Tori, who is my wonderful assistant, she is in the chat with us today. She's going to be taking any of your questions that you have, getting them in front of me so that we can make sure that they get answered as we go throughout today's live stream. And of course, I have some slides to share with you guys. So you might want to take some screenshots, take some notes, because we are going to have a blast during today's live stream. Looks like Yvette is here from Maryland. So happy to see you and so happy to have you guys here. Again, if you're joining me for the first time and you're just tuning in and you can hear me, give this video a big thumbs up so I know that audio is coming through and we're ready to get started. Also, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe. You'll get reminders and notifications about anytime I host a live training just like this, or anytime that I publish a new video. And we do that every single week here on this channel. So thanks everyone for saying hello in the chat. By the way, if you've never been to a live stream of mine, I ask a lot of questions. So I'm going to ask you guys a lot of questions during today's live stream. So make sure you get ready to type in to the chat while we're going through today's live stream. Now, I want to start off with a couple slides with you guys. And then I also want to post a link for you. So next week, if you guys have not yet heard, next week we are holding our one and only resume writing masterclass. The 5-step system to write an eye-catching resume that lands you more interviews and better job offers. Now, if you have not yet attended this event before, we only hold this event twice a year, and we get thousands of people that register. So this is an event that we put a lot of time and effort and energy into to make sure that you're writing an eye-catching resume that, of course, is landing you more interviews and better job offers. So Tori's going to pop a link to the free live resume writing masterclass in the chat. We'll also pop a link in here too. And then I'm going to actually pin this link to the very top of the page so that you guys can actually see that. Click on that link. This will take you to the registration page. You're going to enter your name and then a good email address. Make sure you enter a good one so that I can get all the details to your inbox. Now, here's the thing about this masterclass. We are holding it twice next week. So we normally only hold this once during a week at a time, but we're holding it twice because we get so many registrants in this event, and we want to make sure that you guys can attend live because we have some amazing live things happening during this event. So October 6th and October 7th, you can choose one of these events, or you can actually attend both of the sessions. So again, make sure you go to heatheraustin.online/live class. There's also a link in the chat for you to register for that live masterclass. Now, as we're going through today's live stream, again, make sure if you have any questions, pop your questions in, because Tori's going to be getting those in front of me so that I can answer your questions. Jesse popped in and said, love the career advancement toolkit. Awesome, Jesse. I'm so glad. I can't wait to hear the results after you've put it into practice. Also, Ned says, I did an interview 2 days ago and I'm getting my dream job. Social work. Yay. I'm so happy to hear that, Ned. Thanks for sharing that with us. Okay, let's jump into the content today, you guys. So make sure while I'm talking to you, make sure you run over to heatheraustin.online/live class to register for the free resume writing masterclass next week. The spots are limited, by the way. Let me just mention this really quickly. Spots are limited. We are not holding this live stream, or excuse me, this live masterclass. It's not going to be public to the world. This is a closed masterclass that only individuals that register for the event will be able to attend, okay? So make sure you get in and save your spot. So today, what to know before accepting a job offer, 5 qualities of a great employer. Now, let me share a little bit about myself before we jump into this. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Heather Austin. So I was a university professor for 15 years, turned entrepreneur. So as you can tell, I'm a teacher. I love teaching topics. I love teaching concepts. And I recently brought my knowledge to the internet. So we started a YouTube channel a couple of years ago, teaching everything that I'd been teaching my university students the past 15 years and everything that I had learned as an academic dean, as a program chair, hiring faculty members, all that good stuff. We've brought it over to YouTube so that you guys can consume the content for free. In fact, we recently received recognition on the channel from the YouTube CEO, Susan. So she gave us a shout out on Twitter just a couple weeks ago about the amazing work that we're doing here on the Professor Heather Austin channel. So again, if you guys have not yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe, okay? And most of you probably know me from YouTube. Now, let me ask you the first question that I have for you. I want to know from you, what number 1 quality do you look for in your ideal employer? So when you go out and you actually are searching for either a company that you might want to work for, or a position that you might want to obtain, what's that number 1 quality that you look for? Type that into the chat. Now, while you're typing that in, I want to share with you what some of the members in our free private Facebook community mentioned. So I asked this question to them this week, and here's some of the things that they said. So Brian says a strategic planner and executioner. I love that, Brian. Daryl said a partnership with employees, which I love. I think that's amazing as well. Anne says, oh, what to pick? I have to pick one. And then goes into saying decisiveness, followed by consideration and visionary. I love that. Such amazing qualities. Carrie said ethics. That's a big one right now. Claudia says flexibility. That's another big one as well. George says organization. And Miles says integrity. So by the way, these are responses from our free private Facebook community. If you guys have not yet joined that community, make sure you do it. We have dedicated career professionals in there answering questions all the time about your job search, your salary negotiation questions, all that good stuff. It is an amazing community. In fact, I'm going to say it's probably the best community out there, free community for professionals to get help with their job search. Okay, so we cover everything from resumes, LinkedIn, salary negotiation, like I mentioned earlier, job search strategies, all that good stuff. So make sure you're a member in that group. And Tori has the link for you in the chat. We also have it down below in the comments if you are watching this, in the description if you're watching this on a replay. So let me kind of see what you guys are saying in terms of what you look for, your number 1 quality that you look for in your ideal employer. So Fernando says work environment. That's a big one. Yes. Kim says a company with a soul. Yes, Kim. Ebony says, understanding the flexibility that I need as a mother of a young child. So true. So flexibility. I'm seeing a lot of flexibility in here. I'm seeing career growth and career advancement. These are all such amazing topics and qualities that we want to see in our ideal employer, right? And I'm going to share with you guys 5 of them that you need to pay attention to. And some of them go along with what you guys are saying. But before we jump into those 5 qualities, I have to mention here, if you guys have not heard this, which I'm sure most of you have, U.S. job openings hit a record high. Okay, so recently we've seen a record high in the number of positions that are open. So mainly this is due to a record number of people quitting their jobs. Okay, so I don't know if you guys heard, but back in April, we had the highest quit rate in over 20 years in the United States history, okay? So a lot of people are quitting their jobs and they're putting the brakes on their job search, okay? Now, this is creating an imbalance. So if you're noticing the job market and some of the trends, this is creating an imbalance, okay? Employers are really struggling to find the right worker for the right job, okay? And give me a yes in the comments if you guys are noticing this as you go throughout your job search. Now, there is a study that comes out. It's called the JOLTS, okay? And this is actually the job, it's called the Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey. Not that you guys care about the title, but notice where I have this red arrow pointing on the graph here. This is telling us, well, let me just tell you what JOLTS does. It actually tells you things like how many job openings there are each month, how many workers were hired, how many people quit their job. It tells us how many people were laid off. So it gives us a lot of really good statistics in the job market. So what we're seeing here is that there are a record number, again, of those job openings in the United States. So you can see the big difference between how many positions are open and how many hirings are happening, okay? Which is a huge, huge difference. So what's the bright side to this for you? Well, the job market is alive and well. So there are plenty of positions that are open right now. I get messages from people every single day that either used a video, used a template, one of my Academy students, one of my Career Advancement Toolkit users, that say, Heather, I have to tell you, I'm so appreciative of what you shared with me. It made all the difference, and I landed my dream job offer, just like you guys actually saw someone mention here today. So there are new and exciting opportunities popping up more than ever before, which this means for you, you can actually be pickier as you're going out and finding your new job and searching for what you want. So you actually can stipulate more things like, how flexible do I want my schedule to be? How much do I want to get paid? How much do I want to work? What types of benefits do I want? So right now is the perfect time for you to be looking for that new job, okay? But here's the catch, you guys. This will not last forever, okay? This will not last forever. So the next thing I want to share with you is what's holding job seekers back from an urgent job search, okay? So I'm going to share a list with you, and I want you to, if you see one of these things pop up, I want you to mention it in the comments. What's holding you back, okay? So here's some of the things that are holding job seekers back right now. And this is based on studies and what we're seeing in the job market. COVID fears, of course, okay? We know that there's a new variant out. Some restrictions are a little bit more strict than they were this past summer. Maybe schools haven't started completely, but basically number one is COVID fears. The next thing is spousal earnings. So you might have a spouse that actually makes money, and maybe you're like, you know what, I might not need to go back, okay, to work. Household savings, okay, again, a lot of people are planning like, should I save for this time that I might not work? So on and so forth. Okay. The other thing we're seeing is care responsibilities. As you guys heard in the chat, someone mentioned, I have a child to take care of. Okay. And if daycares are shutting down or schools are either closing or not starting all the way, that makes it really hard for parents to go back into the job market. And then of course, unemployment insurance payments. Okay. A lot of that has allowed job seekers to kind of take a breath and say, you know what, do I really want to go back into the market in a job that maybe I don't like, or can I take some time off and reevaluate? Okay. Now I want to know in the chat, what's holding you back from taking action? So if you are one of the individuals that is like, I'm going to take some time off, maybe you quit your job recently, which we've seen a lot of that happen. Or maybe you're just kind of taking steps a little bit slower than if there was more of a higher demand for you to take action quickly. I want to know in the chat, what is holding you back from your job search? Let's see. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat so far. Let's see. Yes, someone says, I've noticed, but it's also frustrating for job seekers. Totally true. Mandy says, yes, many job listings have been open for weeks and offered salaries are sadly too low. And let me mention something to this, because I talk to a lot of job seekers on a weekly basis. And let me just mention this. If you do see a salary that is coming in a little bit lower than maybe you would prefer, one thing I would recommend doing is taking the action to apply for the position anyway and doing your research to really figure out, hey, what should this position really be paying? So when you say it's low, what do you expect? What do you want them to pay you? Okay, because there's a lot of things you can negotiate in a compensation package. So do your research on what are typical, what is the typical pay for someone in that position. Reach out to people across the country or across the globe and find out what they are making, and kind of do your own research and then your own evaluation of your career experience, and then put the two and two together. And as you go into the job search and you go into the interview, then you can kind of negotiate, hey, this position may not be paying what I want. Let's see. Donna says the virus and savings. Yes. Marianne says lack of experience and first time entering the job market. Yep. Jessica says I'm moving to a different state, so I guess household savings. Yep. It looks like a lot of savings. Kim says taking time off to evaluate or taking time to reevaluate what I actually want to do. Also want to work a 4-day work week. Yes. So we're going to talk about that in a second, Kim. Brian says I had ample reserves. Grateful for that. Decided I needed that. It is time to make a change. Yep. Oh, so many awesome comments, you guys. Okay. Let's jump into our next slide here, and this is why your job search needs to be your top priority, okay? So we evaluated the slides and you guys about all the reasons that are holding job seekers back, or what I should say is slowing down the job search, okay? And you guys have given a lot of your really good feedback as well. So why your job search needs to be your top priority. So I talked about all these things, right? That we had more savings, maybe our spouse was making money, maybe we needed care responsibilities to be met. Well, let me tell you, and this was someone mentioned this in the chat just a second ago, that stuff does not last forever, okay? We only have so much savings in the bank. I know that this happened to me years ago when my job was in jeopardy as a university professor, and I was thinking, oh crap, I have a family to take care of. What happens when my job expires, or when my job, if I'm terminated, which thank goodness I wasn't terminated, but what happens if that is the case and I lose my job in a way that I didn't want to have happen? And how do I recover from that? I only have so much in savings. I have a mortgage to be paid. All that good stuff. The stimulus packages are only going to last so long, right? So your job search needs to be your top priority. What's happening is we're seeing more job opportunities come about every day. We're seeing more people get vaccinated. So again, that's curbing some of that fear that people have. We're seeing people are running out of savings, and we're also seeing that unemployment insurance is not there anymore, okay? We're also seeing that school is starting and that people are actually going back to school and people are really trying to get back into the job market. So again, this lag that we're seeing is not going to last forever, okay? So what I want you to consider is should your job search look like moving forward? So let's talk about a couple of the key things that you need to be implementing right now as you're going throughout your job search, okay? So moving forward, and by the way, feel free to take a screenshot of this last, when I get to the very last item on this, you can take a screenshot of that. Number one, you need to evaluate your career objectives. So someone mentioned in the chat, I want more flexibility. Someone else mentioned it just wasn't a good fit for me. So now you're really starting to think, hey, what do I want in my career? What type of position do I really want to land? Okay. So you're going to really take inventory of what your goals are and what your desires are. Think about what types of positions you want to be doing, what type of work you want to be doing. And I want you to really jot down that vision for yourself. So how many days do you want to work? Like as Kim mentioned, I think Kim, it was you that mentioned, I want to work 4 days a week. And guess what? That's totally normal. That's totally okay. You should be able to go into the office 4 days a week. Okay. So start pinpointing your career goals and your objectives, and then also start researching what types of positions and job titles interest and intrigue you. Okay. The next thing I want you to look at is a list of targeted, okay, notice I have a targeted list of 10 to 20 employers. So I meet with a lot of job seekers every week. And when I'm first getting to know someone, and one of the very first questions I ask them is, hey, what does your job search look like? Like your number one goal is to find a new job where you're thriving, where you're excited to get out of bed in the morning, where you love going into the office, or maybe you're at home working and you love going in and opening up your laptop and doing your work, or maybe you're a salesperson and whatever that might be. I ask a lot of people, what does your job search look like? And so many of them, and this happens every week, they say, well, I go to Indeed, and then I go to LinkedIn, and I go to this other job board, and then this other job board, and I look at these job titles. Well, let me tell you, which I'll share more about this in a second. This is very time consuming, okay? And it's almost like not giving you the biggest bang for your buck, if you know what I mean, in terms of your job search. So you need to start with a targeted list of 10 to 20 employers. Now, you could even narrow that down to 5 if you wanted, okay? 10 to 20 is just like a general a general number to kind of get you started. So what you want to start looking at is what companies are out there that align with my career goals and aspirations, okay? What company is out there that I really like their vision and I like what I like their products and their services, and I like how they treat their employees, okay? The other thing you can also look at is we did a live stream. In fact, Tori, if you have the link for this, we did a live stream last week. I think it was last week or the week before, where I shared the top industries that are hiring right now, like as of this month, hiring right now, where we're seeing a big, huge increase in hiring. Take a look at that live stream and review that list that I shared, because it's going to give you a good starting point if you're just like, I don't know where to start. The other thing you can do is you can actually search for best companies to work for, okay? Now, keep in mind, I'm going to give you a little hint that these best companies, like just go to Google and type best companies to work for. These best places to work for, I talked about this in a live stream a couple weeks ago. These are where employees and managers have a really great relationship. Okay. This is where you're going to like your boss. This is where you're going to like your coworkers. This is where we can actually really start finding a position for you that works well and matches who you are as a person. So again, take a look at that live stream. But that's number 2. Number 3, dive into your network. So I talk about this so much on my channel about how important networking is. I know it's a boring topic. I know it's something that we don't always want to do, but I want to encourage you to spend a few minutes every single day nurturing your network. Now, this is stuff we talk about in my Academy, World Class Career Academy program, where we dive deep into those specific networking strategies, and I share templates with them on, hey, if you're going to meet with a recruiter day 1, here's your first message you're going to send. If you're going to meet with them day 2 or next week, if you want to send another message, here's the second message. So we go through a really specific plan on how to work with your network. And by the way, we are opening enrollment for World Class Career Academy next week. So make sure you guys keep your eyes on this channel for that. So dive into your network. Stop using job boards. That's the 4th thing. Stop using job boards. Now, I have a caveat to this. I like job boards for research purposes only. So I like job boards just to be able to go out and see if I want an operations manager position, I could type that into Indeed, I could narrow it by location, and I can see who's hiring, right? That's great for that general knowledge, but you just can't stop there. Longer are the days where you can just submit through online and actually get a response, okay? You have to go so much deeper than that. And by the way, that's something we also talk about in the Academy as well. Number 5, make yourself relevant, okay? So this is where you're going to be learning new skills, new technologies, new education, certifications potentially. So you really want to evaluate now that position with those companies that I want to work for. What are they asking for that I might not have, okay? And then you really dive into, maybe I can do a quick certification. Maybe I can do a professional education course and put that on my resume and on my LinkedIn profile. So we really want to look at how are you going to be relevant. And by the way, new skills and new technologies is a perfect place to start. And then number 6, revamp your career portfolio. And when I say career portfolio, this is what I mean. I'm talking about your resume. I'm talking about your LinkedIn profile. I'm talking about your cover letter. Okay. Your career portfolio is basically everything that you are showing the employer front facing. That's your portfolio. Okay. All those items together, you need to revamp that. Now, keep in mind, let me share my screen with you really quickly. The 5-step system to write an eye-catching resume that secures your next dream job offer. Make sure, if you have not yet saved your seat for this event, we are holding it twice next week. So normally we just hold this event once, but we are holding it on Wednesday and Thursday. We actually have a PM schedule in there to accommodate anyone that isn't able to attend during the day. So you'll notice that you have the option to attend an evening class if you want, or you can attend the morning/afternoon class. So make sure you go to heatheraustin.online/live class to save your seat for that. Tori also has that in the chat, and I also have a pinned comment for you. So make sure you take advantage of that, because I'm going to show you how to revamp your career portfolio, mostly your resume. Now, let me share with you guys just a couple of results just from people that have attended the webinar. So David made a comment last time we held the webinar. He said, I attended Heather's last resume event and it was the difference maker I needed. I no longer am searching for the new role. I got it. So you guys, you don't need expensive, fancy programs or resources to land your dream job, okay? This is results from a free event. Poor V says, your video truly helps me bag a deal recently and I got paid. And then Allison said, I watched the workshop yesterday. She said, so often webinars are really just fluff before the sales pitch. She said, but yours was totally different. I learned so much. So this is again, these are the kinds of messages that I get. So make sure you guys tune into that if you have not yet saved your spot. Now let's talk about the 5 qualities to look for in a great employer. So take notes here because I just have a slide for each quality. I don't go into detail on each of these, but I will talk a little bit about them. Okay. And then by the way, if you guys have questions, make sure you get questions in. Tori is getting them in front of me. And I'll answer some of those as we go through today's live stream. Okay, let me get to my slide. Okay, so 5 qualities to look for in a great employer. So this is really what you want to consider before accepting any job offer. Now remember, we know right now that job openings are at an all-time high. Okay, so employers are struggling right now to find the right person for the right job. So what that means for you is that you want to give yourself to them on a silver platter, and you're basically saying, here I am, here are my skills, and here's how I match up with your company. Now, our goal is that you go out and you land multiple job offers, okay? But what you do need to do is you really need to consider, before I accept any of these job offers, what do I need to think about, okay? And the other thing I want you to consider here is this has nothing to do, what I'm going to share with you has nothing to do with salary or compensation, okay? Salary or compensation is easy. That's an easy one. We can negotiate pretty much any salary we want. Okay, I shouldn't say it's easy, but that one's more of like just a cut and dry. There's not a lot of gray area to this. The qualities I'm going to share with you, they are a little bit more, it's more of a gray area. It's things that you really need to think about as you're going into and looking at these positions. So I'm assuming at this point, you've done your research on the salary, you know what a general ballpark is of what they probably will pay you. You kind of have an idea now of maybe what if you get a bonus, are they going to help you with wardrobe if you're a salesperson, whatever that might be. There's so many things you can negotiate. So we're now assuming you've kind of worked through that, okay? Now the very first quality, prioritizes employee mental and physical well-being, okay? I added this number 1 because as I meet with clients, every single week, this is one thing that I can see when we're talking one-on-one or in a group setting that they really are looking for, okay? They want an employer that is going to prioritize employee mental health and physical well-being. And the reason why is because of what's happened over the last, how many ever months, year and a half, a little bit longer than that, okay? Almost 2 years now. So we are really looking for someone that can say to us, hey, there's a global pandemic going on. Let's do a hybrid work schedule. And let's have you maybe work in the office 2 days a week and work at home 2 days a week. Or as Kim mentioned, let's have you work 4 days a week and take Fridays off. So what you guys are going to see as you're going throughout your job search is a lot of companies are actually considering this because they know that they need to make this more of a priority if they're going to get really good employees in the right spot. Okay. So number 1, prioritizes employee mental health and physical well-being. Now let me know if this is resonating with you as you're seeing these qualities pop up. If they are one of the qualities that, yes, you think that's what I need if I go work for someone. Okay, provide support and recognition. So this is another thing that we are seeing is that our employees want to have a manager, a team, an organization that actually supports them in what they're doing and gives them recognition. Now, I'm not talking about recognition as in, here's a big, huge award that you got because you had the most sales this month. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just simply your boss or your manager sending a quick email that's like, hey, Sue, Or Bob, thanks so much for that. The clear and thoughtful project. The deadline was met. I loved that you did X, Y, and Z in it. Like just like weekly recognition, okay? And I know how important this is because when I was an academic dean, I led a team of hundreds of faculty members, hundreds of program chairs, and I know for certain that was the one thing that would change their day on a dime is if I could provide recognition to them in some way, okay? In some, even if it was like a quick 10-second conversation or a quick 1-minute email, okay? Again, that's what we're looking for is provide support and recognition. Now, let me also mention to this on this point. I meet with my team when I come and I do live streams with you guys and we do videos. I have a team that helps me with all my content. So we come together and they are career experts that actually say, hey, this is what we're seeing in the market. And that's how I get a lot of my information out to you guys. One of the things that we talked about when I met with my team is we don't want micromanagers, okay? Give me a yes in the comments below if you do not want a micromanager, okay? No micromanagers. You want to be able to have the independence and flexibility to get your job done. So if you are opposed to micromanagers, give me a yes in the chat. Now, the next thing that we look for is we want someone that maintains stellar communication. Okay, so again, this kind of goes hand in hand with quality number 2, but this is someone who is good at communicating, someone who's going to keep you in the loop about changes that are happening. Okay, or even just giving you feedback on certain projects or timelines or whatever it is that you're working on. And by the way, that feedback needs to be constructive. Okay, so I like to when I talk about feedback, I like to do the sandwich approach. Okay, so I say what's one really good thing that they've done, and then what's one thing that they could change, and then finish it off with what's one thing they've done really well. Okay, so you're almost like doing like a positive. I'm not going to call it a negative, but the constructive feedback portion and then a positive again. Okay. So again, we want bosses and managers that are going to have stellar communication skills. Now, the fourth quality we're looking for is someone that involves employees in key decisions. Okay. Now, this is where I'm not saying the CEO is going to go to everyone and say, okay, you guys, we've got this big, huge thing that's about to happen. We need everyone's input. And it's like a big, huge, massive thing. I'm not talking necessarily about that. I'm talking more about those micro decisions that are happening on a daily basis that maybe getting feedback from the employees and learning where are they coming from? How is this going to affect them? How is this going to affect their mental health? How is this going to affect things that they're doing? Okay, Apple did this recently with their employees when they said, hey guys, we're about to come back to the office. What do you guys want to do? And they put a survey out and asked their employees, what did they want to see from this new office culture where everyone was going to be back in the office again? How did they want things to pan out? So again, involving employees in decisions that are going to affect their day to day, okay? Now, a big mistake I made, again, as an academic dean, when I first came on board, my teachers and my faculty members didn't work on Fridays. And I was like, and I was young, I was 27, this was the largest leadership role I'd had at the time. I was like, oh, I'm going to have these guys come in on Fridays because we could get more work done. And boy, did that backfire. If I had a mentor, I did have a mentor at that time, but I wish that at that time my mentor would have said, you know what, do they really need to be here on Fridays? Like for me, I was thinking we're going to get more done. The students weren't on campus that day. We could collaborate and do our meetings. And I was looking at it in that way. I wasn't looking at it how it would affect them and their day-to-day schedule. So again, be very cautious of that as you're going through and thinking about what types of things did they involve employees in, okay? Now, the fifth quality cultivates positive workplace relationships, okay? So there's nothing worse, you guys, than a toxic environment, okay? I work with a lot of clients and a lot of things are going on right now where they're just done because the workplace environment is just not healthy. And you have to draw the line for yourself and say, is this a place I want to be? Do I want to be in this environment? And if it's not, you need to take the steps to get out of that environment or to try and change up your current situation. So again, you're always going to be looking for a company that cultivates workplace relationships, okay? Now let me kind of share with you what this looks like. Potentially it's team building activities outside of the workplace, okay? It could even be team building activities inside of the workplace. It could be that they are encouraging employees to interact with each other in positive ways, okay? Maybe they're mixing up teams a little bit so that you get exposed to other people in the organization, okay? Now, I want to give you a big, huge tip here. This is probably one of the most important things to today's live stream. So tune in if you're kind of distracted over here. One thing you can do, these 5 qualities that I've shared with you, one thing you can do is you can turn all 5 of them into questions that you ask during an interview, okay? So let's take this quality number 5 here. If I'm in an interview, I could say, hey, what do you do to cultivate positive, or what does the corporation do or organization do to cultivate positive workplace relationships? Okay, let's take number 4. What do you do to involve employees in key decisions? Okay, let's take quality number 3. What do you do to maintain really good communication in your organization? So again, all of these qualities, you guys, can now turn into an interview question. So that's how you can tell, is this company going to meet all of these qualities? And here's the other thing. By the way, if the quality that you mentioned at the beginning of this live stream did not show up in this list, turn that quality into a question. What do you do to, maintain whatever? How do you guys value X, Y, and Z? What do you do for employee mental health and physical well-being? Okay, there's so many things you can do with this list, and the best thing to do is to turn it into an interview question, or a question that you ask them in the interview. Okay. Now tell me in the chat really quick, you guys, what has been your biggest takeaway so far today? What is your biggest takeaway in the chat? I'm going to take a couple of seconds to answer some questions. Type that into the chat. While you guys are typing that in, don't forget about our free live resume writing masterclass. Next week, we have 2 sessions running. Next week, once you save your seat, you are eligible to attend one or both sessions if you want. Take your pick. You could come to one or both. You're going to just click on the Save Your Seat icon, enter your name and a really good email address so we can make sure all the details get to your inbox. Keep in mind, you guys, this is an event that will not be live streamed like this, okay? This is a private, closed-door event that only individuals that register for will actually get access to, okay? So make sure you get your seat saved for that. Now, let me see where we are with questions really quickly. And by the way, if they come up, feel free to, as I'm answering these questions, feel free to type your question into the chat. So Michael has a really good question. Do you help with career change, trying to find a job that is right for me? Yes, Michael, such a good question. So career change, if you guys are not already aware, we are seeing a ton of this right now. A lot of individuals are looking at career changing. Now, last week, or maybe it was last week, we put out so much content that I forget when we did what. Last week I did a video about how to write a resume if you are a career changer. And we talked all about this topic. So we talked about what you can do with your resume, what you can add to it. Keep in mind, Michael, when you're talking about a career change, there's a few differences because you have your career change, but you also have your job change, okay? In fact, I think we talked about this on the live stream too a couple of weeks ago. When you look at your job change, it's kind of like, I'm just going to switch organizations because maybe this company isn't right for me. We're seeing a lot of this right now. And that one's a little bit easier to position yourself because you have some of the same skills and qualities. You've been basically doing the same thing, just a different company, okay? Well, a career change is a little bit harder because now you have to really dive into, well, what is it that I have that they need in this new role that I can kind of transfer over? Okay, so you're now really looking at what are my transferable skills? Now, when you say trying to find a job that is right for me, this comes down to your own career goals and aspirations. This comes down to thinking about, where do I want to be in a year? Where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I want to be doing in 10 years? Okay, 10 years is a little bit harder to think through, but I would say think through where you are in 1 to to 3 years. And then I would also think about, Michael, what are your strengths? Like, what is it that people are telling you that you are really good at? Okay. What is it that in your previous or current position, people said that you did really good? Or like, what is that? Where's that burning desire in you? Now, keep in mind, I will tell you guys this story really quick. When I first graduated college before graduate school, I worked in IT. So I actually worked in a human resource department and IT all the same time. They had me doing human resource skills and working in the HR department, but then they had me doing like IT stuff, which is strange, but I was like, okay, great, I'll do both. And during that time, they said, Heather, we have, and this was, I'm not even going to tell you the year, but this is back when people were using PowerPoint and most of the people in the company didn't know how to use PowerPoint. So they're like, Heather, can you go teach this PowerPoint class? I was like, sure. So I actually made a manual. I got slides ready. This is like the very first time I'd ever taught. And I was like, this is awesome. This is great. I'll do this class. I spent hours and hours and hours preparing. I went and I taught this big, huge group of people how to use PowerPoint. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love teaching. I'm like, okay, I want to teach. I want to like become a full-time teacher because I loved it so much. And I didn't realize I was going to love it, but because I had the opportunity, then I was like, I want to do this. So then when I was going to graduate school, I was like, how can I have my emphasis be more in teaching and training people? Because that's what I loved. So again, you have to think about what is it that you love and dive into that, because that's going to be your fuel for that career change, if that makes sense. Chris, hello. I'm so glad you're here. I was thinking about you the other day, by the way. So Chris says, how do you take a professional course? So I think, Chris, what you mean is like a professional development course. I'm thinking that's what your question is. So when it comes to professional development courses or kind of anything, let's talk about anything outside of your general education. So outside of like a bachelor's degree or like a certification, what you need to do is really think about first, what is it that I want to do? Like, what does that new position look like for me? And what types of skills do they need me to know? And then you can go out and actually look at courses that you can take. For example, I had a client who she'd never done medical billing and coding before, but for some reason she's like, I want to go be a medical biller and coder. I was like, great. But she was coming from like events management, right? And I think because of the COVID stuff and the transition, she was looking at, I can't go be an events manager and who knows when I'll be able to do that again. So now what can I do where I can become like something that I'm at home doing all the time? So then she went to like Udemy and I think it's Coursera. I can't remember all the online course platforms, and just searched up medical terminology courses so that she could start learning some medical terminology. And then she took that course and then she got through that. And then she's like, okay, I'm now ready for the next level of that. I know the terminology. What about now some more like medical billing and coding, like the terminology that they need just in that industry. Okay. Like what does all that mean? So again, there's so many places you can go. You can go to LinkedIn. If you're a LinkedIn premium account holder, you can attend a lot of those. And I say attend, but it's a lot of those courses, just online, like through LinkedIn, and you can even get certified, and they'll even place a certification on your LinkedIn profile. So again, there's so many ways you can do that. Chris, let me know if that answers your question. That's a good one. I'm glad you asked that. Andrea, hello. So happy you made it. So Andrea says, how would you apply for positions that are not in your expertise? Like you have some experience and you've hit some qualifications, good, on the job description, but not all. How would one pitch themselves? This is so good. So again, this kind of goes through, we must have a lot of career changers in here. In fact, if you guys are still with me live, type into the chat if you are a career changer. Like give me a yes if you're a career changer, because it seems like we have a lot of those career changing questions. So when it comes to actually your experience. So this is again where you have to map out, I've been doing this for this many years and this new position requires this. Then you need to say, how can I like intertwine the two? Now we did a live stream all about this. Let me see if I can pop up the link really quick for you so that you can see what that looks like. But we did a live stream all about, career pivot, how reinventing your career, how to write an impactful career change resume. We talked a lot about that. So let me see if I can get this link for you really quickly, and I'll pop it into the chat for you. This would be a really good one to look at, because we talked all about that. So we actually reviewed that exact same question, and I kind of went into detail about that. But kind of like a high level overview would be, again, mapping your skills to the new position. And then what I would do is I would say, okay, of all the skills that I have, because obviously you have skills, okay, all the skills that I have, do I have an impactful career story that I can now mention to them either on my resume or on my cover letter or in the interview, and preferably all three, and even on my LinkedIn profile, okay, in my about section? Do I have an impactful career story that I can mention that shows them that I would be a good fit for this position, even though I might not have the 10 or 15 years of experience that someone else might have? What can I show them? Okay. Now, again, this is going to come down to your passion for the industry, your excitement. What are you going to give them that someone else can't? Or what are you going to help them with that someone else might not be able to? Okay, that's a really good question. Awesome. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of yeses in the chat. Carl says, transitioning from active service into the civilian job market is proving to be more stressful than I anticipated. Carl, I actually had, Brandon's probably not here, but I had a client in the Academy program, Brandon, who did the exact same thing as you. I should have him come on. He's like, I'll come on to your channel and tell them my story. I should have him come on and tell us his story. He was in the Navy for 20 years, transitioned into the civilian job market quite successfully. So he said that the Academy program, which again, by the way, you guys, launches and opens next week, changed everything for him in terms of how to write a resume for the civilian market, because it's totally different, and what skills to focus on, what experience to focus on, what stories to focus on. So it was exciting to see his whole journey. Marianne says, it seems like employees are in a better position than ever to assert their needs and desires. Yes, it 100% of the time right now, what we're seeing is because there's so many job openings. In fact, let me tell you guys, there's a restaurant. Well, it's not a restaurant. It is kind of a restaurant, but it also has a fast food right roundabout thing you can go in if you want to just order at the window and pick up. But there's also a little eating area. So I took my kids there yesterday. We wanted to get a snack. I'm like, let's go to this. It's called Neaters. If you guys have one of those in your area, I'm like, let's go to Neaters. The drive-through was so long. I'm like, oh, we are not sitting in the drive-through. I'm like, let's just park and we'll go in. Well, we park and we go to the door and it's like, sorry, the lobby is closed because they don't have enough help. I'm like, the lobby's closed, and it was like 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, how is the lobby closed and they can't find enough help? And so anyway, I'm like, I'm not going to wait in that line. And my kids were like, we want a cookie, but we never ended up waiting in the line because we probably would have been in the drive-through. So they have maybe one or two people at the drive-through window. That's how desperate employers are right now. They need employees to come in and rock it out and do amazing at these positions. Okay, you guys. And by the way, this is not going to last forever. And the one tip that I can share with you is look at the initiative. It shows that you went out during this challenging time and you were able to work successfully and effectively in the job market. And then you can say, yeah, I did that. And here's my skills. Here's what I learned. Here's the initiative I took. Here's all the great things I learned. So again, let's see, who was it? Andrea made a really good comment about that you basically can position yourself any way you like right now. So Sherry says, do your research. Awesome. Good, you guys. Fantastic questions. Let's see. Stephanie, hello. So glad you're here. Stephanie says, career changer. How do you make ourselves look relevant when we have the education requirements, but no real experience? Oh, this is good. So Stephanie, it depends on, number one, how long you've been out of school. What I would do is for you, Stephanie, I would actually format your resume if you haven't done so already to make some sort of statement about your education at the top part of your resume. So preferably in your professional summary, I would mention it in there because that's going to make a direct correlation, right? Then what I would do is I would really think about how can I get that experience, whether it's through some sort of certification program, volunteer work, maybe it's even through, and volunteer work, by the way, doesn't even have to be full-time. I'm just talking like maybe a few hours here and there just to learn some of those basic concepts so that then you can start adding that stuff to your resume. I hope that helps, Stephanie. Awesome. Okay. Big takeaway. If you guys can pop that into the chat, we're kind of closing up the discussion. Pop into the chat your biggest takeaway. And I'm going to review with you guys really quickly what those top 5 qualities are again. So Annie says, I have issues with coming up with stories during an interview because I can't remember them anymore. What can I do to help? Oh my gosh. Okay. I wish I had a 3x5 card because I have really bright orange ones. And I show these to my clients. I'm like, you need these and you need to bullet point out your stories. You're not going to necessarily take that 3x5 card with you, but that's how you're going to remember them. You need to bullet point out, tell my academy students this, 5 to 7 stories that you know you're going to mention in the interview that relate directly to the position, that show how amazing you are, and that show how you can help them solve the biggest challenges that they're coming up with, okay? And stories, you're not going to come up with these all in one setting. I would say, like, get the bullet points going about them. Like, you might think of 2 today, and then tomorrow you're like, oh, there's another. I remember this other thing I did that was super amazing. Jot down just like the key points to that. And by the way, you guys, when I talk about stories, there's a very clear interview strategy to answering these stories where they're considered like behavioral interview questions. And I think someone mentioned STAR. I can't remember. So I think someone mentioned STAR in the chat, where you're actually going to talk about that story. Like you're going to give us the beginning, the middle, and the end of it. But basically what you're doing is you're telling us the task you performed. You're telling us like the actions you took. And then you're telling us the result of that, okay? So we could go into that all day long, but that's kind of like the high level of this. Now, just to recap with you guys really quickly, if you have not yet signed up for the 5-step system to write an eye-catching resume that secures your next dream job offer, make sure you go to heatheraustin.online/live class. I also have it pinned at the very top of the chat. You'll also find the link down below in the description. Make sure you go there to get that, to sign up and save your spot. We only hold this event twice a year. We hold it once in the spring and once in the fall. So this is a big one. It's a private closed door webinar. It's not going to be streamed live. It's going to be in a closed door setting. There are limited spots because of that. So you want to make sure you save your seat. Now, really quickly, just to recap, qualities that you want to look for. I'm going to pop these slides up really quick. A company that prioritizes employee mental health and physical well-being. Whoops, wrong one. That was my webinar. You want an employer that provides support and recognition. You also want to look for the third thing, maintains stellar communication. Okay. You also want to look for an employer that involves employees in key decisions. And then finally, an employer that cultivates positive workplace relationships. Okay. So before you accept any job offer, again, these are the 5 qualities you want to look for. Make sure you turn these qualities into questions to ask during your interview. Okay. Hey, what do you do as a workplace what does your organization do to cultivate positive workplace relationships? Ask them. Just ask them what they do. You're going to turn all these into interview questions. Okay. Okay, you guys, thanks so much for joining me. Thank you so much for chiming in, answering all the questions. Loved having you guys here. We'll be back next week with some more content for you. Make sure you save your spot for the free live resume writing masterclass. It's going to be a blast. I have one of my career coach professional resume writing experts joining us during that to answer all your questions. And we have some amazing content planned for you. So if you guys thought this content was good, next week during the resume writing class. Resume writing class is even better. Masterclass. Okay, got it, you guys. Okay, I will see you guys soon. Everyone stay safe and stay well, and we will be in touch.